Season 2, the sequel. It's the sequel to Season 1.
That's generally how it
That's
goes.
generally how it works.
Hello, and welcome to HAZMAT, the only show that can be hired to come to your birthday in a big bucket of popcorn and burst out like strippers from a cake.
When you pitched that idea, I did say specifically, I did say multiple times, I'm not doing that, you can't make me do that, I'm not doing that.
We've got 12 bookings.
Well, sold out bookings, I imagine.
Okay, fair enough.
So people are going to be very disappointed.
You've got half a HAZMAT. I'm Matt.
And I'm Harry.
And this is the monthly thing, the part of the show where we talk about every new film or series we watched in the last month, whether we recommend them, what we thought about them, and how we felt watching them.
Horny.
Oh.
Specifically for one of them.
Oh.
Specifically, just the one.
Heretic.
It's Hugh Grant, he just does things.
He does that.
He does things.
What a heartthrob that man is. As always, we may get into some spoilery territory, so we will recommend up front, and then you can decide whether you want to hear what we want to say about them, or you can skip to the next one, or you can just sort of keep skipping until the video's over, and then on our analytics, it'll look like you've watched the whole thing, so...
But you're doing it in like 10 times, like you're saving yourself like 10 times the amount you would normally be. Right,
but it sort of benefits, it's a win-win really. It's, benefits us, benefits you don't have to sit through this.
Yeah, honestly, you're probably going to get the key points.
Yeah.
You just cut off like mid-thought, but that's fine.
It's a recommend.
That's fine.
This is a recommend. This is not a recommend. This is a recommend.
And it's over.
Perfect video. First up, Anora.
Anora, barely know her.
No, but we did get to know her quite well.
Yeah, I guess.
Actually, in this film.
In a way. It's sort of, I guess.
Anora, I really know her. This is a recommend from me.
Off the top, easy.
Off the top.
Easy.
Off the top of the dome.
Very
recommend
easy
from me.
Recommend. Very easy. Didn't
Great
even
film.
have to think about it.
I didn't even have to think about it. I knew before I went in.
I was yelping it as soon as we sat down. I said, recommend. And they said, sir, please.
I thought you meant you reviewed it on Yelp.
Oh, no. I meant like yelping. I was audibly yelping.
Oh.
Like that was the kind of pitch and tone.
Right. You weren't on Yelp.com.
No.
As a review for the cinema, but just reviewing Anora instead.
Yeah,
went to see Anora here.
Anora,
Speaking of Anora,
just post it on the Cineworld page.
Cool little sort of comedy drama, I suppose.
I like the way I've seen people describe it, of it being like a modern fairy tale, but as if like it had a more realistic ending, and it's got the bare bones structure of a fairy tale, but if everyone actually acted as if it were real, and it's in a more real set, is in a grounded setting.
Yeah, it's a bit more gritty than a fairy tale, a bit more grounded. So yeah, it's just about Anora, funnily enough. This
they just
stripper that
fucking tits in right away.
Oh, also, yet another one of Charles Manson's goals from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Tarantino film, breaking out into Hollywood stardom here, right after Sydney Sweeney, Margaret Qualley, and now Mikey Madison. And she was great. Put on a great performance here in this lead role. Nailed all the comedic parts, but nailed all the dramatic parts as well.
Quite a bit different to what I was expecting it was going to be going on. I did not expect it to just turn into a straight up like slapstick comedy routine.
Yeah,
like, halfway through.
Yeah, we said it was like we said it's the fairy tale thing, but then it turns into like Three Stooges.
Yeah, as soon as the Armenian like heavies are introduced.
Yeah. It's hard to know kind of where it's going until that point, I guess, because you're like, is the Russian dude like trustworthy? Is he actually part of a big like drug ring or something like that? Because he sort of is joking about that a little bit. But then it just sort of like all hell breaks loose as they're trying to sort of get him out of there, get her out of there, sort this shit out. And it just becomes this like proper like slapstick fucking thing. Yeah,
it's less of a crazy situation than you actually think. It's just like the fucking like husband runs off, and like a good chunk of the movie is just them looking for him.
Yeah.
Just in New York City, which like trying to find anyone where you don't know where they are in a city like that.
Yeah. Big players.
Is a nightmare, especially when you got like the bumbling goon squad with you.
But yeah, I kind of like through the whole thing that where you don't really know if he is trustworthy or not, whether he is who he says he is, or if he's got this like crazy background. Yeah, I like that sort of element of it. So, yeah, just this sort of like party boy, playboy, like rich parents sort of guy, but kind of like passing it all off as his own stuff, and impressing her and pretending he's this like drug kingpin. Well, he sort of jokes about it, but then you sort of half think like, is he joking about it or no?
No, he's just a fucker is what he is. I think they strike the balance really well of kind of you go through a lot of this movie, and a lot of, especially throughout that sort of middle sequence, is played up for comedy, and then you get to the ending, and the ending makes it kind of hit home of like, actually the situation she's been put through is like incredibly traumatic, and there's no point in the movie where she really gets like a moment to release it, to sort of actually express like the emotion and trauma she's been put through until the end.
The ending made me feel like so empty. And I think it kind of reflected how it made her feel as well. She just went through this entire ordeal kind of for nothing. She's kind of back where she started, just getting dropped off back at her home, and just going through this entire like whirlwind adventure, and just back exactly where she started. And I think I had the thought of like, God, what was the point of all that? And then I was like, holy shit, maybe that is the point. The point is there was no fucking point. The film kind of makes you feel as empty as she does.
Yeah, especially the fact that like character-wise, it starts making you think about like the nature of her work, and the fact that you can kind of draw this interpretation that she's kind of lost a sense of what actual relationships are like. Right. She's so used to everything being so transactional that when she finds someone that is genuinely like doing, like caring for her and doing nice things throughout the film, like just these small little things that show that he is like genuinely trying to help her, she basically like insults him and calls him gay.
Yeah, she's like not used to sort of the realness of it, and not having to keep a mask on, and sort of pretend and act along, and sort of indulge these men in their fantasies. It sort of becomes the flip side of that. Like he's sort of giving her everything she's ever wanted, whereas like her whole line of work is giving men everything they want for like a night, you know. Whereas he's promising her everything she wants for a lifetime. And so she sails to the moon and just comes plummeting back down to reality.
Yeah, it is a sci-fi movie, by the way. That's not a metaphor. Like, that happens. She goes into space.
I really thought it jumped the shark when they got to the moon. I was like, what the fuck?
That's weird. I don't get it.
I mean, I was up for the Three Stooges routine, but we're going to the moon now.
Yeah, the moon voyage was a weird choice.
That was an odd directorial choice there, I think. Beautiful sequence, don't get me wrong.
Oh, visually, like, gorgeous.
But plot-wise, wasn't needed. Could have been deleted, I think, that one. Because they never mentioned it again.
Yeah, it never came back.
They go to the moon and they never mention it.
Didn't mean anything.
Really
didn't actually mean anything. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed.
All in all, yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Solid film, fun experience, sort of a fun and sad experience, which is something
best
I really
of
like.
Experience.
Yeah, I love when a film can nail the balance of comedy and drama, and I think this managed to walk that tightrope very well. Next up, Heretic.
Oh, you can't just go around saying that to people.
Heretic!
Stop it. Because people get upset if you say that.
Sinner!
Stop!
Another recommend from me.
Yeah, I'd say.
Sure. Why
yeah,
not?
sure. Yeah, you know
why
what? Fucking
not?
why not? Go on. It's nearly Christmas.
Yeah. New horror thriller from Hugh Grant and the gang here.
The mind of Hugh Grant.
From the mind of Hugh Grant. From the twisted mind of Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant playing against type here a little bit.
I was going to say, have we ever seen anything where he hasn't sort of been just kind of bumbling and charming?
Yeah, he's
a little bit here, but like out of context.
Yeah, he's doing it in a different way. The context makes it a lot more sinister than it would be normally. Yeah. But I think he's done. He was in The Gentleman. Is it the Guy Ritchie thing?
Yeah.
He was a bit more of a Cockney geezer in that. Dungeons and Dragons, he was sort of a villain thing, but he was still kind of doing the Hugh Grant thing.
He was kind of the secondary villain in that, and it was sort of still kind of bumbling and
it was just sort of Hugh Grant as a fantasy villain. But I feel like he's still taking different roles than he's kind of been doing, because he's sort of obviously aged out of the rom-com thing now, I feel like. I think he's even aged past the like attractive older gentleman.
So that he's not the silver fox anymore.
Yeah, I think he's past that. He's still Hugh Grant, don't get me wrong, but he's now entering like eccentric old man territory.
He's
roles wise,
roles wise. Yeah, he's to get into like Shakespeare.
God, I wonder if he's done it in Shakespeare.
I reckon
I bet he's done
I
Shakespeare.
guarantee he
I bet he's done
has.
Shakespeare. But no, it's kind of exciting to see what he's been up to lately, like the last few years, and this is another one to add to that resume, I think. And I think he did a great job. One of his best performances I think I've seen of him. He just nailed the sinister charisma that this character has.
Yeah, that kind of character is always so good, where there isn't inherently anything evil about them.
Yeah.
But it's the way they're presented, like the use of kind of the setting and the lighting and the tone and the music and everything around. But they themselves are still like quite charming and lure you in. And
yeah, almost sociopathic in the way he was able to kind of make them very comfortable in the small talk. And I mean, well, they weren't comfortable, but you know what I mean. He came across as very personable, and
yeah,
until things started to sort of slowly slip through the cracks and stuff. But I think he also managed to have this level of sort of condescension to him as well that I think people like that have, you know, the way he was explaining things to them or talking down to them or taking control of the conversation. I think he nailed like that sort of character very well, and then throughout the film gradually kept turning that up and up and up until obviously like shit hits the fan.
Yeah, this was just theology, the movie.
Yeah. A lot of monologuing here, a lot of monologuing, which I think gave him a chance to really get deep into that.
A lot of metaphors I really liked that point out the hypocrisy of religion, but then also the hypocrisy of how he's challenging that. I think the board game analogy was really, really good.
Yeah.
Where ultimately, like, he's talking about how religion is just another system of control, and ultimately we're all just kind of, it's us who are in control. It's all about manipulation and how you can get essentially the players within the game to do what you want. But at the same time, you think about the board game analogy, you're still answering to a higher power, really, because games have rules.
Yeah.
Games have rules that you're abiding by.
Yeah,
There is a higher power to it.
I like that the film didn't really take a side on that. I was like, oh, is this film going to be kind of preachy about, like, oh, religion is a construction and it's about control and all that stuff. But I quite like that the characters of the Jehovah's Witnesses had counterpoints to it, and like pretty good counterpoints. Like it very clearly argued both sides, I think, throughout the film. So I think it kind of nailed that debate, whereas I thought it was going to come crashing down on one side of it and just become this film that is like really forcing like a certain message.
Yeah, it was cool how they kind of they took an idea and then went, actually we're going to take it in a different route, and then it seems like it's going to be a supernatural kind of experience, but then we go back to the debate and it's like, oh, actually no, here's why this is bullshit and I'm going to disprove what you just said, and this is what you actually did.
Yeah.
It kind of it switches up genres and then switches back, and it keeps you sort of trying to work out where it's going in the end. And
yeah,
ultimately it's not really about the destination of where it arrived. It's about sort of forming your own opinions and taking into account everything that's been said and everything that's been discussed throughout the whole runtime, and then kind of coming up with your own conclusion of, oh, they've ended it this way, and there's an ending which uses the symbolism of the butterfly that they discuss earlier. And then you have to go, well, was there like a higher power, or was it all just kind of them working their way through some kind of kooky old man's trap house?
Yeah, because by the way, the trailer for this for some reason made me think it was going to be like them solving puzzles like underground or something. I think because it showed that model of the house he had, like they were in a game, which obviously they were, like, in a way. That was kind of the idea there.
Yeah.
But for some reason I thought it was going to be like an obstacle course underground. But yeah, no, it turns out to just be more of a mental game, I guess, of like thought experiments and things like that going on down in his basement.
Like, it's cool if that's something that the director kind of said maybe when they were getting someone to put the trailer together, is this whole movie's kind of about twisting your expectations and keeping you on your toes and keeping guessing about where it's going. That even the trailer suggests it's going to be one thing.
Right, you're not even sure about it. God, yeah, if that's deliberate, that's genius.
Because I thought at one point, like, watching the trailer, it's like, is this going to be a bottle type movie where they're in this one room and the whole movie is them choosing between these two doors, and the whole debate is going to kind of happen there, and then them choosing the door is the climax. And I think there's one like shot in the trailer where it's Hugh Grant's voiceover. He says, "Has he figured it out yet?" And it's that shot of like the it's like upside down. It's like her standing in like the basement. It's like upside down and flips like the other way. I was thinking, is this going to be like a Dante's Inferno type thing? And the whole thing is an analogy of like going through the different levels of hell.
It definitely conjured up a bunch of ideas. But I mean, like you say, if that was the idea for the trailer to kind of leave it vague, then damn.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
But I enjoyed the ride. It had a few twists and turns here. You didn't really know where it was going to go, and I think the three leads here managed to carry it together very well. You know, it wasn't a big cast. Topher Grace
just shows up
was
and then
here for some
again.
reason. I thought that was sort of just to illustrate how helpless they really were, like how trapped they really were, I guess.
Yeah, to give you a glimpse of hope and then take it away.
Yeah, but some of his scenes just sort of fell a bit flat. I felt like that plot didn't really go anywhere.
No, he was there just for sort of plot convenience.
Yeah, but it's just because I think when you get a big name actor in a role, you sort of expect that to be a bigger deal than it was.
Than being like his.
Like if it wasn't tough, if it was just like a more underground actor or whatever in that role.
Yeah, if it's just some guy.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't have thought twice about it, but for some reason, when it's a big name actor, you're like, well, what the heck?
Why?
Why was Topher Grace?
That guy was in Spider-Man 3.
That guy was in the 70s show, for God's sake. He's a big name actor.
We know who that is. I
think he's the only one left that hasn't been cancelled or arrested.
Aye.
Yeah, all in all, enjoyed it. Well done, Hugh Grant and the team.
Hugh Grant and the squad. Next up, Moana 2. Did you see
Moana 2?
The first Moana? Did you see the first one?
Yeah, I think so. Like on the telly, I think, maybe at Christmas.
Because I was going to say, the only way I can describe this movie as saying it's the first one but worse.
Okay. Classic sequel then.
Classic
sequel. We're back. Cinema's back, baby.
Cinema's back, baby.
We're doing sequels that are the same but worse.
Animation's so back.
Let's go. This would have been a straight to DVD in the 2000s.
Yeah. No, this one's not a recommend from me.
Oh.
It's funny you say straight to DVD. It's not that, but this movie started off its life as it was originally going to be a Disney Plus series.
Ah.
And then
that is the equivalent, isn't it? That's the modern day equivalent.
And then I don't know what happened or what choices were made, and then it ended up just being a full-blown sequel. But I guess that's why it feels so kind of just nothing. Is that nothing feels developed in it at all? Because I'm guessing it was initially going to be they took certain aspects of it and each one would have slightly more focus on like a different episode or whatever.
Is it just them doing different stuff?
It's so
no
much
resolution.
similar to the first one in that it is just let's take a boat and go somewhere and do this thing. Who cares what happens in the middle? Because it doesn't matter at the end. It doesn't matter. They try and introduce like a cast of new characters as well who don't really do anything. They're just kind of there for the ride. So great start.
Presumably that would have been a great supporting cast for the TV show.
They have a main villain that doesn't show up in any kind of physical form until the post-credits.
Presumably he would have shown up in like the last episode.
Something like that, maybe. They just talk about them and then you see them as a cloud. Yeah, just every aspect of it is worse. There's one good thing about it, I guess, and it's like she has like a younger sister now, and like all of their interactions are very cute, but other than that, like there's no like character development. There's very little chemistry between sort of the main cast, even with like Moana and Maui, who kind of carried the first movie. Even like they don't really seem like I could imagine they didn't even meet while recording this. It's just Dwayne came in, did his lines,
it just didn't
fucked off.
He's not having a good time right now, is he?
He's coming back for more Moana as well, because they're doing the live action one and it's still him.
Oh, and it's still him, you're right.
Him. Because the main thing I picked up on is that there's a lot of songs in this where you can kind of point to the first one and say, okay, this is this movie's version of that song. You can compare the two, like Maui has a solo song, so you can go, oh, he did You're Welcome in the first one. But again, they didn't bring back Lin-Manuel Miranda for this movie, so all of the songs are worse and none of them are like memorable.
Damn.
I think one of the things where Lin-Manuel Miranda really succeeds is he's really good at understanding genre and understanding like how culture affects music, like, because obviously it's very like Polynesian inspired. So in the first one you hear that in like the drums and the instruments that they use, and there's a little bit of that here but just not as much. It all kind of blends together, and the one thing I want from a musical movie is to kind of come out of it, go home, and then listen to the soundtrack,
Right.
which I didn't because I didn't care for any of the songs. None of them none of them are memorable. None of them are good. None of them are well written. They should have just given up. I reckon. It comes a point where you should just say, "Lads, pack it up, go home." We're not doing
this is a
anymore.
waste of time, actually.
You know what? I know. God forbid Dwayne Johnson lose a role. God forbid Dwayne Johnson lose some work. It's almost respectable at this point, I think.
The grift. The Hollywood grift.
Yeah, like how he's survived this long doing the exact same thing over and over and over again.
I'm wondering about his A24 film he's got coming. He's playing like a UFC fighter or something, I think.
Oh yeah.
But
So he's playing a big tough man.
I guess, yeah, you're right. But I think it's going to be a more serious thing, so maybe that'll show his acting chops a bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If he's got any. I doubt it.
If he's got any, we can't be mean to him. He's going to like fight us.
I'd fight him.
You would die.
Yeah, but like I'd still fight him.
Right. Well, it wouldn't be a fight. I don't think. I
No,
don't think it would count as a fight.
He'd hit me once. I'd say like at least
you don't swat a fly and say I had a fight with that fly, do you?
No.
So I don't think it would count as a fight.
But I would win in a way. Because he beat me up so easily that people would go online and be like, "Why is Dwayne Johnson beating up this sick kid?"
Oh, you're sick in this scenario.
Well, no, but like he beats me so bad that people assume I am.
Oh. Why did Dwayne Johnson be that frail, white
little
child?
Look at that starving boy. Look at that skeletal figure that Dwayne Johnson's pounded into dust. Why did he do that?
He's killed him.
Hey guys, can we cancel Dwayne Johnson?
Oh no.
Guys, can we go online and cancel Dwayne Johnson for his absolute mauling of this pathetic little worm boy?
Well, we can say on behalf of everyone, thank you for your sacrifice.
Yeah. It's
someone ill little boy.
At the end of the day, someone's got to do it. Next up, Spellbound. God, what do I say?
Whether it's a recommend or not, that's usually what we say next.
Yeah, okay, fair. Not. No, it's not. It's not a recommend from me.
I haven't even heard of this.
Yeah, well, this is a Netflix movie that dropped to very little fanfare.
Okay.
Despite the fact I was looking online, some people were like astounded by the fact that Netflix didn't advertise this at all. I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy who wrote the songs because this is another animated musical. But the guy who wrote the songs basically did a lot of work for Disney during their sort of Renaissance period, during their heyday.
Mm-hmm.
Like he worked on movies like The Little Mermaid and fucking Beauty and the Beast, shit like that. Like he's a professional in the industry. He's done a lot of work, and this movie just seemed to come out, and Netflix didn't point at it at all. They were just like, hey, here's a movie. We're not going to market it though.
No.
Just put it on there.
Number 100 in movies today. Ranked.
Yeah, this is just another nothing movie where similarly to Moana 2, there's very little in the way of character development. The songs again aren't particularly memorable, but the one thing it does hold is at least it's something original, I guess. At least it's an original movie. The concept is basically this girl lives in like a whole fantasy kingdom, and a year ago when the movie starts, her parents were cursed, and now they're like monsters. They're two like big jumbo monsters, and she has to go on this quest to try and cure them of being monsters. And she goes on this whole journey of like reconnecting with her parents, but just not a lot happens. I feel like a lot of the things with this is that they break into song whenever they want, whereas with these kind of movies there has to be like a trigger. It's either like it's introducing a character, or it's a point of like deep emotional release, and the song reflects that. But a lot of the songs in this, they just kind of happen.
Bum, bum, bum.
I would remember like how any of them sound or go. Especially there's some weird choices, like, no offense to Mr. Javier Bardem, a weird casting choice when he has to do a song, but I don't think he can sing particularly well. Nicole Kidman, that makes sense. She sung before.
She what?
Do it competently. Yeah, I feel like the best part of this movie is the world design. It all looks like very pretty. It all looks it's competently animated, but like in terms of characters and the story, like I'm not going to remember anything that happened or who any of these people are, because you just didn't try hard enough. Guys, like let's sit down, let's be honest for a minute. You didn't try, did you? You just kind of went, this is going to be for kids. They don't care about character development. They don't care about that.
Kids want Javier Bardem singing. So we gave it to him.
Take it to the bank, boys. This is a winner.
Take this one
it
to the bank.
boys.
Deposit it in the bank.
One thing I will give this movie credit for. The reveal of how they turn into monsters, because there's this sort of descript darkness that infects you and turns you into a monster, right? The reveal is that it latches onto negative emotions, and it's because her parents are like fighting and arguing a lot, and that's what turns them into monsters. I respect the decision they made that the parents do not get back together at the end of this movie.
Alright, it's not like a cut and dry happy ending thing.
No. But like it's a happy ending in that like they work it out in the sense of like we're still going to be the king and queen of this kingdom, and we're still both going to be there like for our daughter because she's the most important thing. But like romantically, they don't get back together.
Right.
They just work things out between them.
That's a good healthy message.
Yeah. Why did you not make more of a big deal about that? It just happens. It just happens. I picked up on it. A kid's going to pick up on that? Probably not. Yeah, easy to give this one skip. And Netflix thought the same because they didn't care.
They didn't skip their own
They
movie.
did not care whether you watch this or not.
They chucked that shit out on a random day, probably.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Probably a Tuesday or a Wednesday.
Fuck it.
Fuck it.
No one knows. No one knows.
Have you done that film? Yeah, fuck it. Put it on.
Have you finished that film yet? Right. Send.
Right, there we go. That'll do. Send.
Next up, Small Things Like These.
Like what ends?
This is a film. What is this? A film for ants?
The movie needs to be at least 3 times bigger than this.
Despite its kind of clunky and vague title, this is a recommend from me. I don't like films that are titled like this. I think the book is titled that, so whatever. But like, it seems to have been a trend in recent years. Like Pretty Little Liars, big fires everywhere.
Big like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's just all that shit where it's just like vague, small, big, blah blah blah, like blah blah. And I think it just all blends in with the mess, which is a shame because this is a special little film. And I think it would be more identifiable with a punchier title. But hey, that's a very sort of pinicky thing. But yeah, I'd recommend this. This is Cillian Murphy's latest small indie drama about the infamous Magdalene laundries of Ireland. It's set in the 80s, and it was a very big sort of controversy that was covered up for years and years and years, decades. So yeah, it was quite a serious sort of scandal in Ireland, and to be honest, I hadn't really heard of it before. I wasn't super familiar with it going into this film, and I think it explores it quite well. So Cillian Murphy plays this coal miner who is just sort of living his day-to-day life in this small town, and then sort of slowly uncovers this sort of secret, but it's a bit of an open secret in the town, and it's just that small town vibe of like hush hush, like you don't talk about it, like we just get on with it. They're doing what they're doing, we're getting on with it. If you speak up, like don't do that. And it's all about him, he's debating whether to speak up about this or not. And yeah, it deals with this subject matter in such a sort of delicate, subtle way. Cillian puts in a very sort of quiet performance here. And I think it's quite cool that this is his next project after coming off like one of the biggest films of last year. I think it's great that he's come straight off of Oppenheimer and has just delved straight into this like cool little indie project that he clearly was very passionate about. And Emily Watson puts in a great performance here as the mother nun. What do you call it? Mother Superior.
The Mother Superior.
Head of the convent. Very dark, quite depressing film at times, but bit of hope there.
Where does Cillian Murphy get off sitting on his high horse? Creates weapons of mass destruction. It's not even the first time he did it.
No, you're thinking of the other one.
No, because he did. Yeah, but he did that, and then he's trying to sit on his high horse, and he's done it more than once.
I've talked to you about this. I've tried to explain what fiction is.
Once.
Tried to explain what fictional things are to you.
And then he was like everyone was a zombie, and then he came, and I guess everyone was not again.
Yeah, see, I've tried to explain that when actors are in films, they're not the same.
That's him.
They're not the same person.
But it looks like him.
Right, because that's him playing it.
No, because that's him.
It's set in a world where.
But it says his name on the.
Cillian Murphy doesn't exist. It says his name.
It does say his name.
I've tried explaining this to you.
It does say his name on the.
This is why you didn't like Moana 2.
Because like that guy's got hair, that's not Dwayne Johnson.
Because you were like, why is The Rock?
The Rock got hair and also really wide? I mean, he's a wide man, but like not that wide.
He'd kill you.
Yeah. Next up, Paddington in Peru. He's not in England no more. Somewhere else.
Why?
I don't fucking know. Yeah, it's not a recommend for me because I don't fucking know why they did that. I don't know why. No
I
one
don't know
knows
where
why they
Peru
did.
is.
Sorry, I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they. I don't know what they were thinking, to be honest.
Not a recommend for me because I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's not a recommend for me because I don't know
Oh.
why they set it in Peru. That was a bad choice, I think.
Wait, genuinely?
No, in the sense that like it was a bad choice.
Oh, okay.
I think a lot of the charm of these movies comes from the fact that he's a fish out of water trying to fit into just everyday London life, which is something that we can all relate to and something we're all familiar with. Is just everyday life in
Everyday London life.
England. Yeah, that's where the charm comes from. Is there's all this like recognizable stuff that we just do in our everyday lives, and he doesn't get it. And like that's where all the mishaps and the shenanigans come from. Is from his misunderstandings of how things work here. So then when you take that away and set the whole movie in like just a jungle, like in the Amazon rainforest, like that's all. It's all gone.
It's classic third sequel thing, though, isn't it?
Where yeah,
somewhere
it's like, hey, yeah, we did the
ideas.
first two. What can we do to make this different? I'll just set it somewhere else and make it a generic jungle movie. The fact that it's in Peru doesn't mean anything.
Is he not like from Peru?
He's
or
from he's from Peru.
something? Right.
But I mean, it might just be because I don't know anything about Peru. There was very little in this that was specifically Peruvian.
I think you'll find the leaves of the
Well, you didn't watch it, so don't. There's some good things about this, I guess. All the performances are solid as usual. Antonio Banderas comes in as a new character, and he's very fun. Olivia Colman is also very, very fun in this. She gets a song. There's one song. It's not a musical, but there is one song. And Olivia Colman sings it. Spoiler alert, she plays a sort of twist villain type character. We were just talking about nuns. She plays a nun. A fake nun, though.
Ah.
Fake nun. Because the whole premise is that she goes throughout this whole thing because Paddington himself is the key to finding the lost city of El Dorado. Don't ask me.
This seems really
Why?
like, fantastical for a Paddington film.
Yeah, which is why I didn't like it. There's just too much of this weird adventure stuff going around. Like, the adventure is supposed to come from the fact that he's just getting into shenanigans.
Right.
That's where the adventure and the wonder comes from. It's not from actual mystical bullshit.
Too big.
Too big, too much going on. Yeah, it's just a bit dull as well, I feel. Despite the fact there's still some of the regular kind of Paddington misunderstandings and goofs and mishaps going on. It just kind of felt dull and I think the jungle setting kind of added to that, because when you think of that kind of setting, you're thinking of like something like Indiana Jones, where that is like all action all the time. But this is a family film. This is like a little British comedy family film, and it can never hit those same kind of levels of action. They can't even really punch people in it. So what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Maybe if they'd had a sequence where Paddington mauls a man to death, I would have enjoyed it more.
Oh wow,
That would have been good.
Just goes back to his instincts.
Yeah, just goes fully feral.
Mm.
If they had made this Cocaine Bear, but it was Paddington,
Ugh.
there's your third sequel, boys.
There you go.
You didn't even have to set it in Peru. You just get the powder. Get that bear. Get him some powder.
And take that to the bank.
Take that to the bank. Next up, Wicked. That's both the name of the film and the description of it.
Oh hell yeah!
Hell yeah. Right off the bat, easy recommend from me. I'd go so far as to say this is the best musical movie I've watched all year.
I would go so far to say that I'm a Ariana Grande stan.
That's come out of left field. I feel like I haven't watched like a lot of musical movies this year. There's some good stuff. I watched like Wonka. That I go back and think about. Wonka was really good. Mean Girls, I already kind of forgot about that. And then the two from this year. Yeah, there hasn't been like
another big one.
I feel like I haven't watched like a lot of big musical movies. Maybe there's something I'm missing. I can't remember. But I think this is the best.
Challenges.
Challenges.
We're hitting our tennis balls.
I mean, All of Us Strangers had songs in it. They didn't sing them.
Most movies
they
have
just
songs.
played.
We can't start calling every movie with a song in it a musical.
That's true. Yeah, I think The Zone of Interest is the only non-musical movie I've watched this year.
Yeah, not a single song.
Not a single song in that whole thing. This movie is fucking gorgeous to look at. I don't know how they did it, because I feel like a lot of it is CGI, and generally speaking, CGI worlds are not great to look at. I think they really actually thought about sort of color theory and different palettes and stuff for this, because everything pops, like in terms of the scene. Whenever you see like a flyover shot or like an establishing kind of shot, you're looking where you're supposed to be, and it doesn't all blur together like it does in a lot of films. They thought about, because obviously the two leads have their distinctive colors, like the green and the pink, and they thought of like, how do we make sure that they're not like blending into the scenery? How do we make sure that like whatever scene we're in, they're the focal point and they're not just like falling into the background? I'm very excited for how this movie continues, because this was just the part one, and it's going to be interesting going into that sequel, because I know absolutely nothing about what happens after the interval.
Right.
I knew the basic sort of outline of
You've always had to get home
of the play, like, yeah, up until that point, and then
sorry, I've got to
and
go.
then I've got a meeting to get to, and then I'll try again tomorrow if they still have tickets. Yeah, as soon as the interval hits, I don't know anything that happens after that, which it got me thinking of like just musicals in general, because I went into this knowing 2 songs. I knew Defying Gravity and I knew Popular. It got me thinking like musicals in general. If you've never seen a musical but you're sort of vaguely familiar and know some of the songs, it's always from the first act. Which is a weird thing to think of.
Right,
they get all of their good shit out right away.
Yeah, because it's always the ones that have to establish stuff where it's like big moment.
Yeah. But one of the things I really liked about this was Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, who play Glinda and Elphaba, have vastly different singing voices, like completely almost opposite end of the spectrum singing voices. When you get to the climax and they do Defying Gravity, the harmonies between them are genuinely insane. Like, it doesn't make sense how well they mesh together.
Right.
I can't remember the last time I was in a movie and I was genuinely thinking like, yeah, go on girl, you fucking get them. Yeah, no, songs great, all the performances are great. The way they've thought about the world itself is pretty good at some points. There's a song number they do called Dancing Through Life that starts off in the library, and because it's set in Oz and everything's kind of weird there, they have these like big circular shelves. They're kind of like big hamster wheels, and then the books are like lining the inside, so they're like shelves you can roll around. And it's not just for aesthetics, like they use them in the number, like they go in and they're fucking like rolling around and shit and like twisting the camera, and it's all very cool. My one gripe, if I had to nitpick, they didn't give enough time to Peter Dinklage.
They never bloody do.
Peter Dinklage was in this as a goat, and he's underused. I feel he's underutilized. He's kind of cut out the story way too early, and I just want more from him. And please let him sing a bit more, please. Please, I'm sure he's got a lovely voice.
Please, sir, let me sing.
Please let Peter sing. He's been practicing so hard.
We've all heard him practicing, and we'd love to hear it.
But yeah, although just really enjoyable time, fun time. My only other gripe. I know. I said my only gripe. I've got one more. It is a long movie. It's nearly 3 hours, and I think it's one of the things that is very difficult to do is like Broadway stage musical to movie adaptations, because obviously with a movie you kind of want to focus on developing things a bit more, like with the theatre there's a lot more suspension of disbelief and things kind of progress a lot faster. You're not really lingering on things as much. I think from what I've seen people say, Wicked falls into like an awkward kind of category where there's too much content for one movie but not enough for 2.
Right, yeah.
So it's like, what do they do? Do they...
I've seen a lot of people thinking, like, is part 2 going to be really odd? And
yeah,
like, kind of empty.
It's the one where it's just all the songs that people don't know. I'm sure people that really like the musical have seen the musical and really like it. Will be like, oh no, there's some really good songs.
No, I swear.
No, trust it.
No, some good one. Defying Gravity 2. They do another one.
Like, even I'll admit, like, I love Hamilton, right? And I think a lot of the songs in the second act are really good, but all of the big stuff that people know happens right at the start. She was a witch the whole time.
Thanks, I was going to go see that tomorrow.
Don't judge people for being green.
Oh, thanks a lot.
You should have learned that from the Grinch, from Shrek.
Yeah, we've learned that lesson a long time ago.
And from Monsters Inc.
Yeah, we've learned this lesson time and time again.
And from the Power Rangers.
Yeah, why are green people still cast out of society?
And the M&Ms.
Yeah, what do you mean, the adverts?
Yeah, I think that everyone's judging the green M&M.
Yeah, they're
always judging the green M&M.
Well, they made it less sexy.
They made it less sexy and everyone's judging her for
it.
Fucking...
It's their own fault, really. I thought it would be yawn coming there. Let's go. Do you ever sort of yawn but you don't quite do the full yawn, and you're in public, and people probably just think you're going like... Like, you kind of yawn, it just turns into kind of half a yawn, and you just kind of...
Do you ever like yawn and it hurts?
People just go... Oh, no, I don't think I've ever done a painful yawn.
I think it's like where like you just get like a jaw ache.
Here we go. I interrupted it. It wasn't satisfying.
No.
I talked in my yawn, and now I fucked it up. I knew someone that dislocated their jaw when he yawned once. Yeah. And that scares me to this day that can happen.
I think I've never had it, but like lockjaw is a terrifying concept.
I mean, it shouldn't be to you. You never shut your bloody mouth anyway.
You know, Dwayne Johnson could beat you up.
Good.
He'd fucking kill you.
Next up, the Day of the Jackal.
Should be year.
The year of the Jackal.
Yeah, Zodiac, the Zodiac thing, isn't it?
Only a day, I'm afraid. It's actually a national holiday. We all get together.
In what nation?
We all get together and we snipe someone in the head.
In what nation? What nation is that?
Every nation.
Well, would that make it an international holiday?
The assassination. Come on. Come on, people. Come on now. This is a strong recommend from me. And I think it's my best of the month. This is a great new series starring Eddie Redmayne and Lashana Lynch. It's a remake of the film from the 70s, I believe, which I believe is also based on a novel. And it's about this elusive hitman and the CIA, not CIA, the MI5 or MI6, whichever one, that's the agent that's sort of chasing him. And it's sort of a cat and mouse thriller. And I'm just really hooked. I'm really hooked by it. I was hooked by episode 1. Eddie Redmayne, sort of like Hugh Grant earlier, it feels like Eddie Redmayne kind of playing against type. He's sort of the Hugh Grant of our day. He's played very bumbling British characters a lot. But in this, he's got this sort of real coldness to him, a real sinister edge. He's still doing kind of the bumbling British thing, but almost like his character is doing that as a cover. But no, yeah, he's really embodied this role really great. It was sort of I wasn't skeptical going into it, but I was interested to see how he was going to tackle that kind of thing, because he hasn't really done that sort of thing, but he's nailing it, man. He's nailing it. Lashana Lynch I've seen it come under a lot of criticism because she's playing her character very sort of cold, and I actually think that's like pretty brilliant, because obviously she's technically the good character and Eddie Redmayne is technically the bad character. But I think the show manages to tackle morality very well and sort of the reasons for doing things, because she's doing whatever it takes to get her job done and he's doing whatever it takes to get his job done. And in the process, they're both, like, their personal lives are imploding and they're leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. So it's sort of this cool mirrored sort of parallel between them both. Yeah, as of time of recording, the final episode isn't out, so I'm very excited to see how it all ends. Season 2 has been confirmed, which is exciting as well.
Next up, Venom, The Last Dance. And thank God. Thank God it is.
It's over.
I don't think it's any surprise to anyone that this is not a recommend from me. And it's not a recommend from you. You didn't see it, but I know you wouldn't like it. I know for a fact you wouldn't like it.
I'll see it when we do a commentary video on it when it comes out.
Yeah, when we eventually do it.
We'll do that. That's when I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to just sit through it normally.
I
was like, I'm not going to even do that.
I just want to talk and make funny jokes, because ultimately that's going to be a more enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
To this movie's credit, it's the best of this Sony Spider-Man universe. That is an incredibly low bar, but it is the best one. I'm not including Spider-Verse in that. That's its kind of its own
that
thing.
Doesn't count, though.
But of, the Spider-Man list Sonyverse, this is the best one.
Which means it's the best Venom film.
It is the best Venom film, because they really kind of leaned into a lot of the sillier aspects. I think when we were watching the other Venom ones we said, I think it's the second one maybe where they have that scene where he's like cooking in the kitchen. It's all really goofy and they're having fun, clearly having fun with it. It's like, why couldn't it be more of this?
Yeah.
And it is more of this. And then that's counteracted by the fact that this movie decides just to ignore its own rules that it establishes just for plot convenience a lot of the time. For the most part, the bad guy that they're trying to escape from is this fucking just alien creature, non-specific alien creature that is hunting down the symbiotes. Specifically, it's hunting down Venom, because Venom and Eddie Brock dies in the first Venom, right? He dies. He gets impaled through the chest. He dies. And Venom kind of brings him back. Like, you'd be forgiven if you forgot that. The film does remind you, but you'd be forgiven if you forgot that happened. Eddie Brock / Venom has something within him called the Codex, which this alien needs to release its master. I can't remember what he's called. I think it was like Null, maybe was his name, who gets probably less than 5 minutes combined total screen time in this movie, even though they kind of established him as the big bad. He's in this movie for probably less than 5 minutes, and it's more about this just alien creature that's following them around. And they established this rule, right, that it can only see... It can't really see properly, but it can only see where Venom is when he is fully transformed into his Venom form. And then you can see him perfectly and come after him. At one point, there's like this whole chase sequence happens, and they go off in a fucking helicopter or whatever. And he's not transformed into Venom at this point, but the monster just follows them because plot convenience, even though he can't see anything. There's just small things like that where I say, well, why bother? Why bother making me pay attention to things if you're just going to ignore them yourself anyway? Venom dances to an ABBA song. I like that.
Title checks out. Which
is a really cool bit, because obviously they establish when he's fully transformed into Venom, he's at risk of this alien monster coming after and finding him. He's like, no, let me do it. And Eddie Brock's like, no, like that thing will find you. And he's like, oh, just let me do it, man. And he's like, okay, cool. And then he transforms into Venom and has the dance sequence, and then the alien comes after him and like, what the hell? What are you doing here? I just told you. You told me earlier in the film. You told me I was paying attention. Were you? Director. Eddie Brock travels with a family, and the family is like going on an alien sightseeing road trip, and it all culminates with them going to Area 51 because Area 51 is being shut down. And they want to see it before it all gets packed up and moved away. And
how are they shutting that down? Not shut that down.
They sing the David Bowie song.
Where are they going to put all the stuff?
They sing Space Oddity in the car.
Where are they going to put all the spaceships?
Space.
Space, I imagine. Put them back in space.
Space, I imagine.
Close down Area 51. What fucking budget? It's run out, has it? Not selling enough. It's on Area 51.
Come on, lads. Come on.
Sorry, we've gone out of business. The business of what? Hiding aliens. It's my new very relatable stand-up. You hear they're shutting down Area 51? Hear about this?
Anyone read this? Anyone see this?
What are they going out of business? They're selling off parts of spaceships? What are they?
Yeah, not making enough money, take a picture, come and take a picture with the aliens?
Yeah, come on, we're not even allowed near it. That's probably why they're losing the money, eh? If you want to have a good business, you don't fucking put armed guards around your bloody shop. Anyway, that's my time.
That's my time. Sorry, yeah, it's only it's a less than a minute. It's a minute. I've got a minute up here.
That's my time. Sorry.
I was actually meant to just be doing a sound check. Venom is not a good trilogy of films. Maybe they should just make them good. Did you ever think about that? Actually, maybe they should just make them good.
It's not that hard to make a good Venom film. Here's what you do: put Spider-Man in
it. That was all they had to do.
Easy. It's so easy.
They fell at the first hurdle.
Guys, next up, the listeners. This is a light recommend from me.
What?
I think I'm going to start putting qualifiers on it. It's a recommend in that I enjoyed it.
It's just.
But I think it could have been better. And there's some gripes here and there, but overall, I liked watching this. So this is a new BBC mini-series. I think it's based on a novel. And it's about this woman who just starts hearing this like low rumbling sound or like a hum thing, and she's hearing it all the time. It's permeating every area of her life. No matter where she goes, she can hear this sound. And she eventually finds out there's some other people around that can also hear it. And there's a sort of support group for it. So it sort of makes it seem like it's a bit sci-fi-ish. It's sort of a bit of a mystery thing. It's a very strange concept. The premise is what kind of drew me into this. But we've got Rebecca Hall in the lead here. Immediately, one of the other people that can hear this sound is one of her students. She's a teacher at a secondary school. And so the series sort of weirdly becomes this like thing where everyone believes she's having an inappropriate relationship with her student because they start spending time together to try and figure out what's going on. Yeah, so that, and then that all sort of blows out of proportion, and her life sort of starts unraveling because of like just her trying to find out what's going on here. You know, her family starts falling apart, she gets fired from her job, and eventually this support group becomes kind of the only thing she's got left in her life, and the noise is all she's got. And it just becomes very sort of surreal. It's a bit of a slow burn, despite only being 4 episodes long. I think it needed a bit more, to be honest. I think they could have done a lot more with this. I think only 4 episodes wasn't quite enough, because it didn't quite satisfy me. Yeah, it is an odd number. I feel like 3 is quite common.
I feel like 3 and then 6 is the next one.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the novel has any sort of extra stuff that they cut out or whatever, but yeah, it left me a little bit unsatisfied. I think they could have done more with it. It keeps you gripped in terms of like what the sound is, but it becomes less about what it is, and it becomes more about how she's dealing with it and what it's done to her life and the lives of these other people. And I sort of took it to kind of be a statement on mental health, I guess, and just having this thing that only you know exactly what it is, and you're trying to explain it to people. People aren't getting it. Everyone just thinks you've gone a bit mad, but there's just this constant thing going on with you, and it's only yours, and only you know the true extent of it. And so that's sort of what I took it to be reflective of, anyway. The direction on this, I thought was beautiful. There's some really interesting, quite sort of artsy shots going on here. Gets into some almost dreamlike sequences. She starts sort of going into psychosis at one point. There's a really interesting shower sequence. Lots of sort of little surreal things here and there peppered throughout. Doesn't quite like go like so off kilter, but it manages to stay grounded. But yeah, have these sort of fleeting moments of dreamlike sort of psychosis scenes. I mean, yeah, like I say, it was an enjoyable ride. I sort of watched it all in one go, so it was kind of just like watching a film, really. Yeah. But like I say, yeah, left me a bit unsatisfied. Some interesting performances here, interesting shots. Interesting, surreal story, but left me wanting more. And not in a good way. So thank you for listening to my review of the listeners there. So
it's really cool what you're doing there. That's cool.
I think I'm going to sit like this.
People are going to think you're really cool
for the rest of the video.
Yeah, that's really, people are going to think you're cool. Dwayne Johnson's not. He's going to beat the shit out of you.
Oh no!
Last up, Arcane Season 2, the sequel. It's the sequel to Season 1.
That's generally how it
That's
goes.
generally how it works.
Unless it's like Black Mirror or something.
Yeah, where it's just we do whatever. We do whatever when we want. Yeah, straight up, easiest possible recommend from me. And not only that, I mean, I've got none left, so it has to be my top pick for the month. Somebody help, he's burning. So I just thought I'd add some flavour.
Dark.
Yeah, I just thought I'd add some flavour, like something went wrong with the pyrotechnics or something. I thought that'd be good. Was it good? Was it good? That was good, right?
It was. It scared me a bit.
Yeah. Good idea, right?
I was so sort of locked into what I was doing. It sort of took me a while to realise you were burning to death.
Yeah. But I think ultimately they were okay. They had to go to the hospital, but ultimately they were okay.
Unfortunately, Dwayne Johnson then marched in and put the shit out of them.
Fucking pounded them. I don't know whose idea it was.
Sorry, like how rhythmic that was.
I would like to have been in that meeting when somebody sat down and said, "Guys, shall we just like fucking do a show based on League of Legends? You know, this thing that like it's got some lore to it already, but does anyone really care, or are they just playing it to like run around and kill each other? Let's make that a show. And then they went, "You absolute madman, that's never gonna work. It's never gonna." Do you think enough people in the world care about League? Oh, well, hold on, actually, let me retract that. Do you think enough people in the world know what League of Legends is for this to be successful? He said, counterpoint. What if we made it really good? He went, give it to Netflix. Give him 2 seasons.
Take it to the bank.
Give it 2 seasons. Take it to the bank.
Take
2
that
seasons.
one to the bank.
It's both. I really enjoy this, but I'm a little bit sad because it's the last one. I think it was always intended to be 2 seasons, and that was they told the full story over those 2 seasons.
It's Netflix. I'm surprised they made it to 2, to be honest.
But from what I've read and what I've heard, this was just the starting point of them opening up to do more sort of spin-offs and stuff based on this world, maybe focusing just on like individual characters, which would be good because I feel like this is something like I never played League of Legends. I didn't know anything about it going into watching the show, and even coming to the end of it, like they do a really good job of introducing you to these characters, but I don't think it's enough time to really kind of get to know them. So like if they do go down that route of doing a bunch of kind of like spin-offs and maybe focusing on like a handful of them and giving them like more focus, yeah, I'd appreciate something like that. I think this is one of those shows, even if you're properly paying attention, you're sitting down watching it properly paying attention to it, it is a little difficult to get your head around it at times, just because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of different moving parts. It's like simultaneously trying to be this kind of dramatic unfolding of a story of 2 sisters who drift apart and become enemies, and then at the same time it's like trying to establish this whole almost kind of cyberpunkish kind of world where there's also magic as well. There's a lot of things blending, and then there's also like a whole political thing going on. So there's a lot of these different kind of things mishmashed together to create this whole Frankenstein series, which it works. But I think the main takeaway is I wish I had rewatched season 1 before watching this one, just to get to grips with it a bit better, because I did find myself having to kind of Google stuff that happened in season 1 to remind myself of like, okay, why are these 2 like at each other's throats? Why are these guys fighting? But if you can easily get your head around it, yeah, like this is a fucking great series. It reminds me a lot of Spider-Verse in a way, not just in the art style of how they've kind of taken that new rendering technique of everyone's kind of like reminiscent of old comics, and there's a lot of almost watercolory looking things, and a lot of like cross hatching and stuff like that, but just the sheer amount of stuff that happens on screen, especially with I think it's maybe the second one where there's a lot of like glitching out. There's a lot of glitching out in the second Spider-Verse movie, and like there's a lot of just crazy color palette swapping and stuff. There's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of really quick fire editing techniques. A lot of it is used to symbolize sort of like a character's descent into madness, like their mental state deteriorating, and they do the whole like just very fast-paced cuts and like flashing lights and colors and stuff, and it looks really nice. I think they overuse it a bit. There's a lot of times when it happens. It's at least once an episode, probably. But it's like those small nitpicky things are the only kind of things you could kind of take fault with this series. Otherwise, because this has got like accolades across the board from all different like review sites and won all sorts of awards, and it absolutely deserves it. Soundtrack wise, there's a very cool sort of blend of sort of modern pop, and there's some punk stuff going on, some industrial stuff going on. It really is like a Frankenstein kind of show. I feel like they've taken all of these different ideas and all these different themes and all these different styles and just gone, there we go, throw it all together, put League of Legends on top. Was it that hard? Put Spider-Man in.
Put Spider-Man in.
I think this is the series as well. I think is when we're watching Fallout, the whole time I was like, I've definitely seen Ella Pennell's face before. I recognize this person, and then we got to the end. I was like, oh, maybe I don't. Like, maybe this is the first thing I've seen with Ella Pennell. But no, she is the fucking like backbone of Arcane. It's Ella Pennell and Haley Steinfeld are sort of the 2 leads in this as Jinx and Vi, and they're the 2 sisters who become enemies and then kind of make up at the end. And I think their story is the best part of the series. Like, that's the emotional heavy hitting there. There's a lot of cool stuff going on with the political stuff and the debate of like how far we can push technology until it ultimately destroys us. There's a lot of theological kind of stuff going on like that. But it's the emotional core, which it often is with series and movies. It's the emotional core, which is the best part of it, which is these 2 characters, and they do a great job of carrying the series. They are both very underrated. It takes a lot to fucking sell a character to us just through vocal work, and they absolutely nail it here. And this is just right. This is just gonna scoot up here a bit. Like, this is just between me and the people who've seen the whole series. Like, if you haven't seen the whole thing yet, right? don't listen to this part. This is just for me and people who've seen the whole thing through to the end. What the fuck? What the fuck was that last episode, right? Everyone, that was like everyone. It was like half the cast, right? Half the cast. Probably more. Probably more. Yeah, but ultimately, yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. He's passed on, I think. And he's back. Oh.
Right.
Just makes me sad that I can't watch it anymore. I mean, physically, you can't watch it anymore. I think they took it down. I think once you watch... They actually did a thing... They programmed it on Netflix so that once you watched all of it, it deletes off your Netflix.
It's like a Snapchat.
It's there forever. Like, if you go onto your Netflix, it'll be there for you to watch. It's not on mine.
It's gone.
It's gone. They only let you watch it once.
One time. It's a one-time thing.
One and done.
One and done. Just like this video. One and done. We did it.
We did it. Take it to the bank, boys.
Take this one to the bank.
Take this one to the bank.
Take this video to the bank. Thank you for watching HAZMAT reviewing every new film or series they watched in November 2024.
If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see us do more stuff like this in the future, you can support the channel by leaving a like or a comment. You can hit the subscribe button as well as a notification bell. That way you'll be alerted to all our more recent uploads. And as always, all of our socials will be listed down in the description.
And join us next time where I get in the ring with a certain actor.
And I get to sing with another certain actor.
It's gonna be great.
It's maybe one of us.
Only one of us. This is my last video.
I'm going. You can take that to the bank.
Take that one to the bank,
Take that one
folks.
to the bank, son.
Take it to the bank.
Take it to the bank.